This is Life's a Pitch TV. Main sponsor, DPS Tech. Also supported by Lackens, all about hearing. Forward Floors, Ginger Pickle, Fred Olsen Logistics, The Dove, Seckford Golf Club, Ashford Wright, John Keeble Cars, Venue 16, The Hudson Group, Come Hither Design, Sound 4 Pro Audio, and Suffolk Sound. Our charities this year, Cancer Support Suffolk and the Ipswich Town Community Foundation. Welcome to the DPS Tech Arena for today's edition of Life's a Pitch TV. I'm your host, Mark Murphy. Let me introduce to the team tonight. It's Terry Butcher. Hey! It's Russell Osman. Hey! No Chambo this week, unfortunately. On technicals, we've got Richard and Leslie. Hey! And Sarah Jane is our floor manager tonight. Hey, we need a capacity crowd. But because there's a certain football match on this evening, well, depending when you're watching or listening to this, if you're watching this live now, of course, kick-off's in about an hour's time, Manchester United versus Ipswich Town. But if you're watching this on Thursday, Friday, Saturday or Sunday, you'll know how we did tonight, and we have absolutely no idea at this point, do we? None at all. So it's quite confusing, really. Quite confusing. But anyway, because of the match on tonight, we've only got a small but perfectly formed crowd. So the Churchman stand, sponsored by John Keeble Cars in Bramford, is empty. Oh, it's worse than that. But we do have the North stand, sponsored by Ashford Wright.
You could introduce the crowd, Mark. You could introduce the crowd.
What, individually?
Yes.
Yes, would you like to step up to the microphone and say hello to everybody? No, it's a perfectly formed crowd, so thank you very much for coming. We do need to have a special guest, and he's on the line to us all the way from Toronto in Canada. It's Craig Forrest.
Number one. Canada's number one.
Great to see everybody.
Number one.
Canada's number one. Number one. Number one.
Craig, it's great to see you, and you join a very select group of people who have actually been on the show twice. So George Burley's been on twice, Pat Gobbold was on twice. Yeah. Who else have we had on twice? Roger Osborne on twice. So Craig, you are part of a very small group of people that have been invited back again.
Well, I feel absolutely honored. That's some pretty big company there.
What's it like in Canada at the moment? Have you had much snow?
We've had a lot of snow actually over the last few weeks. It's been pretty dreadful and really cold too, like miserably cold. But over the last few days, it's melted a little bit. It's getting a little bit milder. It's about 3 degrees, something like that. But I'm looking forward to the better weather coming in a few weeks.
The colder it stays, I guess, the less Donald Trump will be interested in making you the 51st state.
Well, that's right. Like, who wants to live here? Like, come on. Like, what are we talking about?
Especially as he lives in Florida most of the while. I can't imagine him living in some of the conditions that you guys have. Do you want to say hello to the boys? Boys, do you want to say hello to Craig?
Hi, Craig. Hi, Craig. Hi, Craig.
Hello, boys. Like to see my idols always.
Oh, don't start that. Craig, can you just tell me what the emblem is on the front of your cap? Is it your golf club or?
It's a herring, and it's from a golf course group called Cabot. And I know you're into golf a lot, so if you check out Cabot Links or Cabot Cliffs in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, it's an incredibly special place. And they've also have one in Florida called Citrus Cabot, and my daughter's boyfriend works for them in Nova Scotia, and then we went down to Florida for a few days and played the Citrus golf course down there, which is really nice. They have one in St. Lucia. I think there's one in New Zealand, Norway. They're all over the place now, but they seem to be doing very well. Destination
Lovely.
golf, because you fly into Halifax, it's a 4-hour drive to the actual golf course. It's in the middle of nowhere. It really is, but it's
That'll
beautiful.
do. Now, me and Terry will go anywhere for a game of golf. We don't mind Florida, the Nova Scotia, New Zealand.
Lucia, yes,
Yeah,
lovely.
any of them.
Perfect. Well, I'll sort you out.
Yep, good man. Can't wait for the invite. What are you playing off these days?
Oh, I'm getting worse.
You're not the only one.
But I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. Tall, long, loopy swing. Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea where it's going, left or right. I spray it all over the place, but I hit the odd good one.
Lovely.
It's a bit like me, really, but there we are. It's good, yeah. We have a lot in common, Craig.
I'm trying to get you two to come along to my Cancer Sport Suffolk Golf Day.
Yeah, I know it's just a busy time of the year, that, Mark, isn't it? I think I'm in Canada at the time at Nova
Yeah, Nova
we may be
Scotia.
away, yeah.
I
Get us
know.
out of this one,
I
Craig.
know. Yes. Well, Craig, it's great to have you on. We've got to talk about Spurs at Portman Road last weekend. We were all expecting that to be a nice home win for Ipswich Town. A lot of us were saying, easy 6 points coming up. We still don't know as we broadcast this what's going to happen tonight, of course, but we lost, boys, to Spurs. Let's start with the positives. Did you watch the game, Craig? Did you get a chance to see that or not?
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
And we certainly came out
like you lads and everybody was. I was hoping for 3 points, obviously, and for long periods of the time in the game, I thought that Ipswich played actually quite well, and especially early on when they came out of the gates flying.
we certainly came out the blocks, didn't we? Could have been 2-3-0 up.
Well, I was away in Spain at the time, Mark, so I never actually watched the
Playing
game. But my lad Toby was there, and I had a chat with him about the game afterwards, and he said, "Yeah, at times we played well, but some of the defending is appalling still."
Terry, would you like to comment on the defending at Portman Road last Saturday?
Oh, yeah, we haven't got the time. I need about 2 hours to
Well, we
to
have
talk
tonight.
about-
We've got plenty to fill.
Yeah, I thought it was a great start, and Delap just hits the outside of the post and shot blocked on the line, and the guy was offside. But it was really encouraging. That's what Kieran wanted. He wanted that fast start. But if you start fast and dominate the game, and they were back on, they were just pedaling backwards, you got to score. And that's been one of the stories of our season, where we've put pressure on, good pressure. We've created chances and just haven't put the ball in the back of the net. So, when you don't score, you can sense with Spurs they were taking a breath, sort of thing, or 2 or 3 breaths, and then all of a sudden they got the ball, and then all of a sudden then they started to pass the ball about, and from really against the run of play they took the lead, and that can knock the wind out of your sails as well. So. Yeah, it was so disappointing, because I felt that if they'd played better and taken their chances better, then we could have won that game. We probably should have won that game, but it's been the story of our
Defensively,
season.
particularly down the right-hand side this season, has been a trouble spot. When Twanzabe's not playing, we're in trouble.
Well, that was as a result of the red card last week. He was unavailable for the game, but it happened right in front of us. Where Godfrey is just caught out for pace twice, but it was just one long ball over the top. And when you're attacking and trying to score goals like we did, when we felt really confident we could get a goal, you're often vulnerable then to a counter-attack. And it's counter-attack football now in the Premier League. So one long ball over the top, I think it was Gray hit the ball over the top, and if you give Son a run at goal, wow, he's deadly, because he not only beat Godfrey, he got into space when he had the time to pick out the 2 passes that resulted in the goals, and that's a quality player that can do that. But if you allow him that space in behind, he's going to go there, and he doesn't defend. He doesn't go back. He's always looking for that attack and for that one ball over the top. So it's a good tactic if you've got a world-class player like that, and we just couldn't handle him.
We're not defending the 18-yard box very well, are we?
No.
If we get
don't pick
caught
up.
on the break, we get back there, but like Terry said, we don't pick up. We don't mark, and somebody makes a mistake and somebody's a yard away from the man. He should be a yard closer, and there's a lot of goals happen that are very similar to goals from the week before that, and you think,
So we haven't learned.
you keep seeing the same mistakes time and time and time again. Yeah, that's it.
Frustrating, Craig, when that happens?
Well, absolutely, and at this level, it's just so unforgiving. You know, you don't take those chances, and the quality of attack for just about everybody in the Premier League is they have quality, and they're going to make you pay if you don't take those opportunities. And if you're not touch tight and putting pressure on balls into the box, you're gonna pay for it. And that's exactly what happened in a match that was very frustrating to watch because of the long spells that Ipswich played well.
You mentioned touch tight there, Craig. I think we're very poor at that today, aren't we? We don't seem to coach touch tight marking anymore. You know, your hands are there to know where the opponent is. So if you can feel your opponent, you're tight enough to him. But we allow our opponents to drift away from us. And then we seem to be surprised that the ball's fallen to them and it's in the back of the net. You know, Craig's talking about touch tight when you're marking the centre forward. You don't need to keep looking at him because you keep touching him and you know he's there because you can feel him. We don't do that anymore.
I used to love that, touch tight. It was normally the opponent's throat that I love touching the time, especially getting my tight hand around it. But no, I mean, Craig, you remember Bobby Ferguson? He was the coach at the time. You were there, I think. No, he was a manager, I think it was. And if you didn't have your hand on your opponent, and if you didn't assume the position where you're in front of your opponent for a cross coming into the box, and you got that frontal area, then he would go bananas. And can you remember him?
Do I remember him?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, he was a classic. I mean, really, I don't think I ever had a manager. Well, I mean, I wasn't in the first team. I was in the youth team when he was manager of Ipswich, but he was pretty hands-on with everybody at all levels of the club, which was great. But boy, was he ever hard on players. I mean, he's in the modern game, he would last 5 minutes. The players would not be able to handle the criticism.
No way.
No, but he was a good coach. I mean, we learned a lot for our trade from him, and we had to conform because we wanted to show him that we could handle this and we can bounce back and we can do it. And it made us as players, as you saw with all the other boys that came through, with the youth team, the Mark Brennans and all these players, Tony Kinsellas, they all came through as a result of his coaching. But he was a defender. We're defenders. You're a goalkeeper, so you see a lot of defenders. So, it worries us that in the modern game in particular, we can't defend and properly and want to defend. The art of defending now has just virtually disappeared, or the level is so low.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true, isn't it? I mean, the level, obviously, taking that step up into the Premier League and the movement of the players is on a different level, and you're trying to learn all these different things and the speed of the game on the fly, and it's difficult to do at the top flight, as we're seeing this year. But it's not everything's not all lost yet, and I actually have high hopes that they could possibly pull off something tonight as well at Old Trafford.
Well, we'll see very shortly, depending on when you're watching this, of course. Were we expecting too much from Godfrey? I mean, he came on loan from Atalanta. He hasn't been playing there, and here he is pretty much thrown into the Premier League. Perhaps he's one to nurture for the future. But we've brought players in that just aren't Premier League ready.
Well, whose fault's that?
Well, the managers.
Well, somebody's got to hold a hand up, and if they're not ready to go straight into Premier League football, then in a way he shouldn't be picking them then, should he?
Well, I think the way that we play at home, especially by pushing on, you've got to try and win games. So you push on and you leave defenders to defend. And the modern trend now is you leave a lot of one-on-ones because you want that extra man in attack. So you run the risk of getting beaten. And if you're playing against these top players, there is a big danger of that. But when you're pushed right up and you're on the halfway line, sometimes in their half as a defender, marking, say, Son, you don't actually then mark him tight. If he's going to get the ball from the goalkeeper from a throw out, then you back off, or you could go tight then. But when he's level with you, if he's level, for me that would be a warning, the flash, like all the lights go
too
on.
close.
Too close. because he'll spin you, and that's the area. He won't go short, but he'll spin you. So you can't get too tight. So you end up giving him ground so he can receive the ball short, but he can't receive the ball long. And then you hope that someone gets back. It's a bit like calling the cavalry sometimes. We need help. 999. We need help.
But as a defender, you want to try and gain the initiative in each situation there and boss it, even though you haven't got control of the ball. You can still dictate where you will allow the striker to go with the ball, if possible, rather than him dictating all the time what he's going to do.
Well, if you're playing speedy players, very speedy and clever players, you don't go too tight, because they can do you, and that's the worst feeling that you ever get as a football defender. Is that someone's going to beat you. I had a winger called John Chidozie. You remember him? He played for Notts County, and he was lightning quick. I mean, really lightning quick. And he got a ball on the halfway line, and I was like, oh my God, here we go. No one around me. I was on my own, and he went past me as if I didn't exist. And he got to the byline, and he crossed the ball into the box. Now, I couldn't stop the cross. I couldn't stop anything that day, but I couldn't stop the cross. And I remember thinking, I've got to do one of two things here: either just go off and say to the manager, I want to go off, and I couldn't do that, or I'm going to have to crock him so that he can't run past me. And I did, because I was a cracker as well, wasn't he? Remember that? And he got to the byline, and he crossed the ball. And as he crossed the ball, I just launched an attack on his body, and I smashed him. But I got away with it, because obviously there's no cameras and all that. Cameras.
Yeah.
But he crossed the ball in the box, and everybody watches where the ball goes into the box. And as they watch the ball, you can hear this ah. And next thing was a heap of a human being in the corner. I was all right. I was fine, and I got up, but he had to be stretchered off. So.
Oh dear, that's one way of dealing with it, isn't
but
it?
you can't do that these days, because there's cameras everywhere, which is a bit of a blow. So.
Craig, can I ask you, would you have liked to played in behind these two?
Oh, are you kidding? It would have been amazing.
Cool, you've got some
Absolutely amazing. Yeah. Unfortunately, those lads have been moved on before I made it into the first team. But yeah, that would have been something pretty special. But Terry's right. I mean, it was a bit different back then, wasn't it? You could go through people. I mean, you look at the likes of Maradona and what he had to deal with as a player and trying to get hacked down. I mean, you tried to hack him down at the World Cup, and that didn't even go down that well, did it, Terry?
No, move on, Craig. Move on. You can talk about something else. But thanks for that, anyway.
It's at the end of the show now.
Azteca Stadium. Azteca, wasn't it? Was it Azteca?
No, I can't remember, Craig. I can't remember his blank.
Craig, if you were here, he'd be saying to you right now, come on, I'll see you in the car park if you mention Maradona again.
Yeah, exactly. I get two-footed.
He's too far away, lucky boy.
What about the goalkeeping situation we've had this season? Obviously, we brought Muric in as number one. Been an absolute disaster. Walton came in and did a really good job. Is now injured. And now we've got the fella in from West Brom who had a great debut, but letting in 4 at home. So what do you make of the goalkeeping situation this season?
Well, I mean, obviously Merge struggled a little bit, injuries as well. Alex Palmer has some experience. He was at West Brom, obviously, for several years, a lot of loan spells as well. He has some experience. Played really well. Got off to a great start, made some absolutely brilliant saves against Aston Villa. When he also played in the Coventry game, didn't he, in the FA Cup as well? Did okay. So, it was a tough day against Spurs, but again, if you're exposed at the back, like he was left exposed, it's going to get, you're going to pay for it. And one thing in the Premier League, for instance, is you're under the microscope like no other league in the world, and there's a lot of pressure there as well. But I think overall, he will be a very good goalkeeper, and I don't think that that's going to be a problem in the future.
Okay, as you've mentioned Maradona to me, right? I'm just going to go ahead a little bit in your career when obviously you got to the Premier League. I think you know what I'm going to talk about. It's it's a certain game against Manchester United in 1995 where they put I can't remember how many goals past you. So
Nork and Craig.
No. But the thing,
I can remember.
You remember that. But the thing is, as well, you moved to West Ham, and you lost by 7-1 when you were at West Ham. Do you think that it's a common trait?
15 all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad I'm not playing tonight.
Yeah.
I have to say, Craig, it is pure coincidence that you're on tonight. That we only realised today. I thought, oh yeah, Manchester United and Craig's on, and it wasn't done to remind you of that at all.
No, not at all.
So thanks for reminding him, Terry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. I totally get it. I've actually over the years softened on it because, as you know, you're a player and you have some pride. I mean, on that particular day, it was crushing. It's a blow to the squad, to myself, and to everybody. It was just an awful day. And at the end of that year, basically, I mean, it was like lambs to the slaughter. We were relegated well and truly. I think there were 6 games still left in the season. We were relegated. It was a real tough go, and I felt bad for everybody involved, especially people at the club, because when you get relegated, things change at the clubs. And I personally kind of feel responsible somewhat for what happens at football clubs when relegation happens, because it's not a good thing.
Yeah, sometimes you lose staff and people who have been working their nuts off behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Often the first casualties, aren't they, when that happens?
Yeah, things change a lot when something like that happens. But I'd like to ask Craig a question about goalkeepers, though. Did you have an idol, Craig, that you looked up to as a young goalkeeper?
Yeah, I did. I mean, growing up in Vancouver, Bruce Grobbelaar had moved to the Vancouver Whitecaps.
Yeah. You looked up to Bruce.
So he was my first idol, and then obviously when I went to Ipswich Town, and then working with and training with Paul Cooper, I thought was absolutely blinding. It was just a different level for me. I love the way Paul Cooper played the game, and I learned an awful lot from him.
Yeah, good footballer as well, wasn't he? He would come into his own at the moment, being able to play out from the back and hit passes left, right, quick as you like as well.
He played centre forward in the five-a-sides, didn't he?
Yeah.
He came out of his goal and played centre forwards, and he was a great.
He was
one.
unlucky to be a goalkeeper in the era that he was a goalkeeper, wasn't he? When we're talking about England internationals.
Well, very, very unlucky. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you have Peter Shilton and Paul Cooper in today's era, you couldn't play Peter Shilton in goal because with the ball at his feet, he was hopeless. And Paul Cooper would be head and shoulders above him. So just unfortunate that that's how it was in that day, in that era. But
Craig, do you think that you would be suited to the modern game today as a goalkeeper?
That's a good question, Terry. I think I was adequate with my feet and probably would have been better if we'd grown up with it. But it was a rule change that happened really mid-career. So it was something to get used to. I didn't mind it. I thought it was a good rule change overall, and I think it certainly changed the game and for the better. But you mentioned about the goalkeepers back then. I mean, I was completely surrounded by a whole country full of absolutely brilliant goalkeepers. There was probably 12 guys that could have probably played for England at that time.
Yeah, well, I played with John Burridge at Southampton. John was great at sitting on the crossbar or walking across the edge of the 18-yard box on his hands. He was fantastic at that, but again, with the ball at his feet, hopeless. Ian Andrews, who played at Leicester City and played up at Celtic, I mean, we played at Newcastle United one day, and it was snowing, and it was a miserable day. Yeah, there's a lot of snow because we used to play in the snow in those days. And I knocked the ball back to him, wide of the goal, and as the ball was getting closer to Ian, it was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, just gathering snow on it. And Ian's come off the line, and he's slipped a little bit. And as he slipped, Peter Beardsley just ran in, knocked the ball past him and fired the ball into an empty net. And I'd been giving Ian a bit of a hard time. He was having a bit of a hard time in the club. He was only a young lad. And I made a pact with myself not to have a go at him about anything. So I was walking out of the 18-yard box, freezing cold. It's about after 25 minutes. It's still snowing. It's wet. It's slushy. It's muddy. And I thought, no, I've got to have a word with him. So I'm right on the edge of the 18-yard box, and I turn around to speak to him. And as I open my mouth, he has half-volleyed the ball back up to the halfway line for the kickoff. And it's hit me full in the mug. And it's lifted me off my feet and sat me on my backside in front of 25, 30,000 Newcastle United fans. So I'm sat there in the snow with a...
Karma.
And that's where my love affair with goalkeepers ended.
Yeah.
A strange breed.
Well, that's the thing. The thing back then as well was the pitches. I mean, we look at what they play on now, guys. I mean, they're like carpets. Those hybrid pitches are fantastic. They don't dig up. It makes it a lot easier to play out of the back, because there was times when we were playing, the pitches were so bad. I mean, Portman Road back, I guess generally for you guys, it was the best pitch in the league, but certainly when I got on the first team, it wasn't the case. You just didn't want to play in your final third. So the game became very direct, didn't it? I mean, just trying to play in the other half and playing out of the back was really not an option at certain parts of the year because the pitches were just atrocious.
Well, one of the great examples was Brian Gunn trying to deal with a back pass that was just rolled back to him. He's going to clear up the pitch. He's not come within 6 inches of hitting the ball. Missed it completely.
Shame,
isn't it?
It's a big shame.
I was directly in line with that, sitting in the Cobbold stand, directly in line with that. I can see it happening right now, right in front of me. Hilarious.
It was
hilarious.
As hilarious as his kit he wore that day as well.
Mind you, Craig, you had some interesting shirts, didn't you, in that era?
Yeah. You know what? People think that we get to pick our jerseys. Honestly, they think, what a bad jersey. Like, did you pick that? I was like, you don't get to pick your jerseys, unfortunately. How about the ones back? I remember back in the early '80s, the Adidas ones. I remember Paul, rather stocky Paul Cooper, and those green jerseys back in the day, cotton shrinking every time they got put in the washing machine. They were getting tighter and tighter all the time.
No, that was as the season went on. Coop had more and more beer.
More and more beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's putting a couple of pounds now. He works in the golf business in Tenerife and Portugal, hiring out golf clubs and booking golf trips for people. Yeah, he's a good lad, Paul.
Yeah, he's having a good time, isn't
good
he?
golfer,
That's great.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
So for those watching live tonight, we have the team news, don't we? Ipswich Town against Manchester United. Russell, you've got the team there, haven't you? For,
we do.
The match tonight. And if you're watching this on Thursday, Friday, Saturday or Sunday, then actually you know what the team was and you know what the score was. We have no idea as we're going out live tonight, but what is the team
You can
tonight?
make a cup of tea if you want.
Yeah, well, it is Palmer in goal, Axel Ryback, O'Shea, Greaves and Leif Davis hanging on to that left back spot. Sam Morsey back in with Kayuste, and then is it Jaden, wide right, Hutchinson and Jack Clark with Mr. Delap up front.
It's quite an attacking team.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And nice to see Axel in that right back position because I think he is head and shoulders above anything else we've got in that position.
Yeah, it's a shame Calvin Phillips isn't playing though. I think he had a very good game the other day by all accounts, and I think he's just getting better and better at the moment.
And of course, Kieran going back to his old stomping ground, and Axel as well. Does that make a difference when you go back to somewhere?
Not really. You just know the way.
Okay.
You know where to go.
Just asking. Another one of my cracking questions.
Bobby Ferguson was manager at Manchester United one day when we played, and I was a captain. I don't know where you were that day.
I was in the stand.
So
Injured.
you had to go into the referee's room beforehand, captain and the manager, and you meet their manager, who's Ron Atkinson, and Brian Robson was their captain. Swap team sheets with the referee. Ron Atkinson went off to speak to the press boys. I was having a chat with Brian Robson. Bobby Ferguson went straight back down to the changing room, looking at their team sheet and mumbling to himself, walked straight into the changing room, started calling the players out, saying he can't play, he's hopeless, he's lost his legs, and looked up and he was in the wrong changing room. We lost, what, 4?
No, you won. You won 2-1.
Did we?
Yeah, and that is the last time that Ipswich Town has won at Manchester United in a league game.
Was it really?
Wow.
1984.
So I was
think that's right.
I was the last captain to...
Yeah, you're the last captain to do that, yeah.
There you go. Well
Get
done.
in there.
Get in.
Well,
That
this-
wasn't,
it's almost
that
a
wasn't
fist bump
today's
then, wasn't
question,
it?
was it?
No, but this is before the game. So if you're watching after the game and we've won, you can please send messages in. Congratulations.
It's quite odd doing a program live like this that most people will probably watch after the game's over, but we'll see what happens. Apart from, did you ever play Man U another time, Craig, other than that one we mentioned earlier, which we won't mention again?
Come on. Of course I did.
Yeah. Well, just what are your memories of playing them?
Yeah, well, my first game against them was, I remember midweek. We drew 0-0. The second match up there, I think it was 1 each. So felt pretty good going into the third match, but unfortunately that didn't end the same. And then the West Ham one, I was away at the Gold Cup playing in our Confederations Championship, which we won in 2000, and then I went straight into the team when I got back, and it was the first game was at Old Trafford, and we scored first. Paolo One-Shot scored, made it 1-0, and made them really angry, and then they ended up just pummeling us as well. So I was like, geez, I've had enough of this bloody place, I tell you.
Craig, were you ever on a clean sheet bonus?
No.
Okay.
I wouldn't have made any money in the Premier League.
No, it's just a thought, because sometimes you see goals going now and the back four, the goalkeeper, they don't really react to it. It's just a goal gone in and that's it. Get on with it. I mean, our lot used to go berserk. Certain people.
For those listening, that was Terry Butcher you were pointing at. Yep.
Was it?
Yes,
Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah, but I mean that's the thing that we see the reaction of players when they've won, when they've scored, when they've lost or whatever, and we are that player that's at that moment in time, and we would react in a certain way. And they don't seem to react in that certain way now. It's all changed. Because he's got he's got a finger which is not particularly long, but it becomes longer and longer when he's staring at you and giving you a rollicking. He really does. So if you get on the end of that, and that's what you learn from senior pros as well. Senior pros will tell you, used to tell them, what to do, what not to do, and if you did well, then they eventually praise you. So
I remember getting a right rollicking one day. After I scored an own goal, I think we beat. Was it Notts County 6-1?
6-1, yeah.
And I got their goal.
Yeah.
So disappointed that we didn't keep a clean sheet. Yeah. It's a great volley, left foot volley from corner of the 6-yard box.
You're good with your left foot and your right foot, yeah.
Wow.
I used to pay players win bonuses. There's a back four and there's a goalkeeper. Goalkeeper had a special bonus as well. And then you had the strikers we didn't concede many goals, and we didn't score many goals either, so it wasn't too bad financially.
What about the opposite of that? What about fines? Did you have fines in your day, boys? Did you have fines in your day, Craig, for various different things? Who got fined? What was it for? Were they misdemeanours or jokes or bad playing or yellow and red cards?
I think there's a few curfews got
Smashed,
regularly. I just can't remember what the total was at the end of the day.
No, we didn't really do a lot of fines, did we? We just when we went out together, and we had a great time. But
I think Sir Bobby, to his credit, on many occasions we were hauled up in front of him for busting a curfew, and he said, "Right, I'm going to fine you this, that, and the other." And then, of course, we won the next game. It will be forgotten about, and water under the table, and then the following week it would be same old crowd, same thing, you lot again, can't trust you to go anywhere. Then we're in Satetia, and then that happened as well, and it was just part of the course. So but I think if you got fined every time, it would have been skint.
It would have been. If you were cautioned, yellow card, then I think the club had a fine to pay. I'm not too sure how it worked in those days, but obviously if you got a red card and you were suspended, or you got a number of bookings, or you did something on the pitch that was very improper and slaughtered the referee and tried to attack the referee, as I did on a few occasions.
Dissent, wasn't it?
Dissent, dissent was the
if you
main
got
one.
books to send off for dissent, then
didn't like that very much.
No.
No.
What about you, Craig, in your day?
Yeah, the dissent was a big one. Yeah, I forget what it was. It was like 15-20% of your weekly salary, something like that at the time, I remember.
Wow.
Expensive. Yeah.
It's quite high.
Yeah. It's not exactly stamped out now, though, has it?
No.
No.
No, well, they won't learn until they really try and do something about it positively and go along the way that the discipline is in rugby. But you can watch rugby at the moment and you can see that, yeah, if you're captain of the team, you can speak to the referee. Anybody else, shut up, young man.
Indeed. We have got another game on the horizon, which might be tomorrow, in a couple of days' time, 3 days' time, or 4 or 5 days' time, depending on when you're watching or listening to this, against Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup. Should we, Craig, be concentrating on the Cup? Because now, I'm afraid to say, I think we're maybe down. Although Wolves losing last night was good for us, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Very good.
So, and of course, we might win tonight. But should we concentrate on the Cup or the League, Craig?
Well, the Cup's always a brilliant tournament. The FA Cup, I love it. I think the fans do too. But I mean, at the end of the day, these days as well, with the financial benefits of being in the Premier League, you have to really put all your efforts into the Premier League or staying in there at least. I remember, was it Wigan a few years ago won the FA Cup and was relegated? You don't really want to do that either, you know. So having a good cup run is always excellent, brilliant. And Nottingham Forest are having a good season, a bit of a surprise. But the Premier League's where it's at, and 5 points behind Wolves at the moment isn't insurmountable, but it's basically 3 of the bottom 4. Or, I mean, Southampton's already buried, but I think that's who we're talking about. So they need a big result, Ipswich, and Man United, there's no bigger to springboard themselves within 2 points of safety. You just never know.
Craig, if you were the manager of Ipswich Town and you're going into this situation, would you play a stronger team in against Forest, or would you play the players that haven't played a lot of games and give them minutes?
I think I would give them minutes. I don't know what your guys' opinion on it as well, but I mean, I think it's a different time with the financial benefits of the Premier League, that you're staying in there, and the crushing blow that is relegation. I think I would give some minutes to some other players, and if you get through that, obviously it gets more serious as you move along down the tournament.
Yeah, what would you do?
I would play my strongest team at all times at the moment, just to try and get some continuity there with them, whether it was a cup game or whether it was a league game at the moment. I think you learn as much about, and I know the players don't like playing back-to-back games Wednesday and Saturday, but I think needs must now. 1 or 2 have got to sort of show that they're up for the challenge and put in a good performance like on a Wednesday night, and do exactly the same thing again on a Saturday, and then if it's the following Tuesday, you go again the Tuesday. We've got to get some continuity there.
I just think with the importance of the Premier League, I know the FA Cup is a brilliant tournament and we've won it in '78 and we've got a great history in it. I just think we've got a better history in the Premier League, in the top division, and I think that's, for me, that's at all costs. If you can, you know, pick a weaker team, pick players that need minutes, as Craig and Russell has said. But you know, at the same time, you know, it's the FA Cup, so it's a tough one. But I think knowing Kieran, I think that he would go for virtually the same team that he had in the previous game at Coventry. So I think he would do that because it's so important, the Premier League. It's
and that showed actually that if, heaven forbid, we do get relegated, which is looking more likely, we would have a damn good team next season in the Championship.
Well, yeah, we would, but I think we.
You're still confident because you've been confident all the while.
That's what I was going to say. You look at the support has been absolutely magnificent. You guys and families and friends and everything else, they've been fantastic. Been unbelievable. It's been one of the highlights of the last 3 years, let alone this season. I think, you know, what our task is as supporters now, and we're all supporters, is to say, right, we're going to support them right to the end, whatever comes. And I think I know the Suffolk people and non-Suffolk people and everybody else would do that because it's their team. I've seen them, you know, the glory year, this glory year. We want it to make it a glory year next year, but if not, then the year after that. And I think that's it's the bond between the supporters and the players is so strong now, and I think that's our task. The remainder of the season, and I'm still confident. We can give it a go. I really am, because we've still got Wolves down here as well coming up. So it's not beyond impossible, but it's got to happen. We've got to light the fuse. You see what I mean? Very quickly.
Yeah, we will have a full house every home game from now to the end of the season. Make no mistakes about
I think we know it, don't we? We really do.
The support's been absolutely magnificent.
Well, it's time to make a choice, because it's time for this week's Life's a Pitch TV Player of the Week. It's sponsored by the Dove in Ipswich. So, Terry, you were at the game. Who would you give it to?
It was a tough one, I'll tell you. I think Omar. I'll give it to Omari. I thought he did okay. He scored a great goal. So I'll give it to Omari Hutchinson.
Okay.
I am going to give it to Calvin Phillips.
Okay.
On good authority from my lad Toby, who was at the game, and he was sat at the table with you.
How do you know he wasn't at the bar at the time? So, knowing Toby.
Because he's not like father, like
He's
son.
not like
Harsh but fair, Russ.
Oh, he's worse than me.
He's worse.
He'd still be there if he was at the bar. Yeah, but he's a good judge of a footballer. You know, he was the one that spotted Tyrone Mings all those years ago. And he's a Calvin Phillips. He said he thought had his best game of the season so far. You know, and things are just getting better and better. So, on his judgment, I will be backing.
Okay. So, Craig, you have the deciding vote. Would it be either of those two, Omari or Calvin Phillips, or somebody else?
Yeah, I like the way Omari played on that there as well. Yeah, I'll be with Terry on that one.
Okay.
But it's a close call.
Yeah. So, the Life's Pitch TV Player of the Week, sponsored by the Dove in Ipswich, Omari Hutchinson, everybody. Well done, Omari.
Mark, do I get a point for that?
No. It will soon be time for Ask the Legends, boys. Did you win last week, Terry, or was it Russell?
No, he did. He won a point last
Did you
week.
get a point last week?
Yeah.
I forget now. I'm resigned to
Oh, yeah,
lose
you're in
all
double
the time.
figures, aren't you? 10.5. I'd forgotten about that. Yeah, I better make a note of that before we get to it.
Yeah.
Don't forget, if you want to be part of our capacity crowd, there's room this week, but normally there isn't. So do apply via the website. Just go to lifesapitch.tv. Top of the page is capacity crowd. Click on that and you can apply to be part of the capacity crowd. There's free beer and snacks. It's warm, it's friendly, isn't it, everybody? Yeah, see, they love it. So go to our website and click on Capacity Crowd to see if you can get in to the show next week. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. It does make all the difference to the channel. It really does. And if you've got Town fans who haven't found us yet, because I think there might be one or two, but not many, do let them know about the show as well. If you love it, tell everybody else all about it. So it is now time for you to pick up your clipboards, boys. And it's Ask the Legends, sponsored by Seckford Golf Club. So Tony's here from Seckford, and Craig, feel free to shout across the Atlantic Ocean if you can help them in any way or hinder them. At the moment, Russell's on 16.5 for the season, Terry's on 10.5, and Tony from Seckford has, I'll tell you what, this is a question and a half, this one. Love this, you'll love this, boys.
Question and a half.
Yes. So, Tony.
So, to be positive tonight, we go back to the famous 6-0 victory over Man United at home. With our two legends in defence. And the question on the game is, who was the referee?
Surely, Terry,
you should know.
You should know, Butch, shouldn't you? You spent most of your time in his face, probably. Don't you think, Craig?
What's that?
Do you think Terry ought to remember the referee? Surely you remember all your refs, don't you, Terry?
Which game is this again?
6-0, Manchester United.
Well, I called. I normally call them by one name, and that was it was quite a long name with it beginning with B and ending with D. But there we are.
Please don't write that down. So we beat Manchester United 6-0, and who was the referee for that match? Do you remember it, Tony?
Yes, I was there.
Yeah. Do you remember it, boys?
Yeah, I remember the game, but I don't remember the referee because we concentrated on the game, not the referee. You see, you had nothing else to do but look at the referee.
I remember the 9-0 referee. I tell you that much.
Do you still send him Christmas cards?
Pole.
Oh right, yeah. Does he get a Christmas card every year, Craig, or not?
Yeah.
No.
I tell you what, if he had a Man U jersey on after they scored every goal, I think he would have been running up the touchline with him, celebrating. It was freaking unbelievable.
Oh dear. Next time we get you on, we won't be playing Manchester United, I promise. Okay. So, got an answer, boys? What have you got? Terry?
Well, I've got an answer, but it's nowhere near the man.
Okay.
Keith Hackett.
Keith Hackett. Russell, who have you gone for?
Keith Hackett.
Keith Hackett. Wow, that's amazing.
Useless.
Yeah.
Was that was the referee's name? Was it
Alan
useless?
Robinson.
Alan Robinson was the referee.
No, I've never heard of him.
So it's still 16.5 to Russell, Terry 10.5. So give them a round of applause for their efforts.
Actually, Mark, there's a good story to that, isn't there? Where we beat them 6-0 and we were selected for the under-21 side to meet down in London that night, on the Saturday night, and we were driven down in a car, obviously, but and Dave Sexton was the England under-21 manager, and he was the current manager of Manchester United as well. So we had to drive down all the way. I think Gary Bailey came in the car with us as well, so the four of us were driven down to the hotel. And we had smiles, huge smiles on our face at 6-0, and they were like this. And I don't think Dave Sexton spoke one word on the way down.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
We had
That was
good
quite a
night that
game, though,
night.
wasn't it?
That was a hell of a game, yeah. I mean, it's on
Should
YouTube.
be more, shouldn't it?
Yeah, it's on YouTube, and the way that we played that day was just phenomenal. It really was.
So was the referee's name.
Yes.
When you win and you get 3 penalties in a game, you don't actually remember his name. You just think, oh, that's a change.
Yeah.
But it was
So
we
Beat missed one, didn't he?
beat missed one, yeah.
Then Franz
Franz missed it.
missed it and then scored one. Yeah, is that right?
No, he missed all 3.
He missed all 3.
Yeah. It was this or that. It was
So we actually could have
restarted.
beaten Manchester United 9-0.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, there was Franz took the penalty, I think, and it was a goal or it was save, whatever it was. But it was we had to retake it. So then we had
Then
the 3,
missed it, yeah.
and then missed it, 3 penalties. But I don't think Bobby Robson told them off at all because of the 6 other goals we won. But it should have been more.
So if Beat played, who played left back that day? You or Beat?
I think it was Beat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Beat. Yeah, because he used to shoot from inside our half.
Yeah.
Yeah. It went like an exocet. Brilliant. No, that
Put
was good.
aside.
Happy days, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy days, yeah. Craig, you were saying there, what a side in that era?
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, my first game when I got to Ipswich, I was still on trial. I don't even think I was signed yet. It was the first game of the 84-85 season. Was Man United at home, I believe.
And the club was full of internationals and legends, but sadly at a time when they were departing for pastures new.
Yeah.
Yeah, such a shame that era really was.
Yeah.
Do you often wonder what would have happened if Bobby hadn't have gone to England and you'd have stayed together? What do you think would have happened?
I think we'd have been a stronger side for at least a couple of years. But we needed to stay together a little bit longer, and it wasn't just him. You know, Brazil had gone, and everybody had left one after another. You know, and it's just a shame that we couldn't keep that 81 side together for just another couple of years, 2 or 3 years, really. So it just went too quick.
Yeah, it was a shame, but I don't know. You would have lost 1 or 2, but I think if we added to that squad and added quality to that squad as well, you know, and Bobby used to pick some really good players, then yeah, who knows? Because the Man United's, Forrest weren't there. You know, it was Villa. We knew that we were a better team than Villa, so it didn't show it because we didn't win the title, but we beat them 3 times, so it's a pretty good indicator that we had the hold on them. But no, it was such a pity because you want it to carry on. It's like the '78 team. It's a cup-winning team, but then Bobby added to that squad, didn't he? He added the Dutchman to that squad, and it became a better squad. And then obviously, you know, with nature and everything else, with injuries, with the Beat and Big Al leaving, and other players come through, then other players came through. So it was like perpetuated, didn't it? That quality. So
There's no reason to think that wouldn't have gone on.
no, there's
then.
no reason to think that. So it's disappointing. So but the worst thing was we built that bloody stand. That was the worst thing that killed that momentum really, because we had to pay.
Shame. Right, okay. Now it's time for our Table Football Challenge, sponsored by Fred Olsen Logistics. So the boys are getting up. Craig, what we have is a football table in the middle of the studio, and unfortunately you're 5,000 miles away. So would you like a couple of members of our capacity crowd tonight to step forward and play on your behalf against our 2 England internationals? The idea is 60 seconds. Please. Yep, 60 seconds to score as many goals as you can against our England defenders. At the moment, Luke Chambers is in the lead on 5, and he has been since day 1 of the season. It's with a bit of spinning and a bit of other things as well, but he's still got 5. So do we have any capacity crowd volunteers who'd like to step forward? Yep. Come on, boys. Come on, boys. This is a bit of a rematch, I think. So on my whistle, Craig, feel free to shout and cheer them on. So on my whistle, you've got 60 seconds to score as many goals as you can against Terry Butcher and Russell Osman. And we're off, the kick-off, and it's always a bit of spinning going on. It's a bit of spinning, it's all right, we're going to allow that. Yeah, it's up in the... trying to play out, our capacity crowd are trying to play out from the back. Come on, come on, get it in there.
It's a defensive battle.
It is a battle, Craig, I'll tell you. Oh, it's 1-0 to the capacity crowd. Craig, you're 1-0 up, 2-0 up. Come on, boys. Come on. Is that 2-1? Yeah. 2-1. Come on, what a match. 2-1.
Who's you here? Who's blue and who's red?
Oh, Terry and Russell are blue.
Oh, okay.
And you're red, Craig.
Oh, okay.
Come on, boys. Come on.
I can't get it.
Oh! Kevin Beattie there.
Oh, my goodness. A last-second equaliser. Oh, my goodness.
I think the referee was Clive Thomas, but he couldn't get his whistle blown in time. Was it gone to VAR, is it?
It would have done, I'll tell you, it would have done, but very commendable. So, Craig, a couple of goals against our England defenders, so well done.
I think we should have had VAR for that handball goal because it just didn't touch any player, it just haven't been thrown, so therefore should have been handball.
Sorry about that. We have got cameras.
Yeah.
We could replay it, but...
I want Craig's... description of my goalkeeper's performance because I don't think he touched the ball and the ball went past him twice.
Yeah.
No.
Do you want to assess him, Craig?
Well, I thought the red team played the ball well out of the back. A couple good finishes, but let themselves down later in the match.
I think that's a fair description, don't you, boys?
That's why he's on Sportsnet. That's why he's on top TV over in Canada. Yeah, brilliant.
Diplomatic.
Right. Time for our On This Day in History, sponsored again by Fred Olsen Logistics.
Right, on this day in history, Ipswich Town on this day, history, facts and figures from every day of the year from Dan Botton. And today, I know it's the 26th, but we're going to just start on Saturday the 25th of February, 1995, when goal machine Alex Matthew marked his debut with a goal as Southampton were seen off 2-1 at Portman Road. It was the last time the Blues were to trouble the scorers for 7 consecutive games. Blimey. Anyway, moving on to the 26th of February, 1979. Strange one, this, because it was a Monday. Holders Ipswich smashed Bristol Rovers 6-1 in the FA Cup 5th round. Alan Brazil scored twice as Town raced to a 4-0 half-time lead. I don't remember that game at all.
No, we were at home, I think, weren't we?
Yeah. Wednesday, the 26th of February, 1992. The Blues fell to wonder goals from Jan Molby and Steve McManaman in extra time as Liverpool were pushed all the way in the FA Cup 5th round tie. The Sky cameras captured a stunning Ipswich performance, which included a glorious header from your mate Gavin Johnson to put them 2-1 up. Blimey. You remember that?
No.
No, I don't either. And that is all that happened.
Well.
And that was it. You remember it well, Craig, yeah?
I remember that match well. Yeah, it was quite a match. And then Jason Dizelle, I think, tied it up late in the match, and then Jan Moley scored a free kick that right in the top corner. I don't even think I saw it.
He could smack it, couldn't he? He got a good strike on the ball, Jan.
How different was the Premier League, Craig, in your day to what we watch now, do you think?
What is the difference?
Yeah, how does it differ?
Well, I think with the way the possession of the football that we see these days is much different than we see back in our day. That's for sure. More technical, I would think. Now, the protection of the players is way different than it was back in our day. Certainly, it was changing a little bit probably later in my career, but the physicality part of it was something that was much different back in our day. We used to get battered. I mean, everybody had big strikers, John Fashionews, Danny Dichio types, and they were massive men up front, and they were difficult to deal with, and very direct football for quite a few years there.
And I mean, it's a tough league now. It was a tough league then. It was a tough league in the first division when you guys were in it. The best of the best, pitting your wits against them every week, aren't you? Week in, week out.
I was thinking earlier today, Mark, actually, I don't know what brought it to mind, but how much do the players enjoy playing today? Because I really enjoyed being a professional footballer. I enjoyed playing football back in those days. I enjoyed the crack with the lads and having fun and games and playing, and the fact we were playing week in, week out, and we weren't getting tested. We weren't having urine testing in first thing in the morning to see whether you've had a couple of extra pints of Guinness the night before.
Good job, really, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was been there all day, wasn't we? And I just wonder, do the modern players have as much fun as we used to have?
It's a good question.
They have more money.
Yeah,
that might make up for it.
You talk about the Premier League, but with Craig, when you went into the Premier League, he was one of 13 foreigners in the Premier League. There's only 13 foreign people in that league, and including Limpar, Schmeichel, Kanchelskis, Cantona, and Hans Sagers. So that's pretty good company, isn't it? He's the first of the 13. 13.
Yeah.
I think that's a great credit to him. It really is.
Yeah. Thank you. I remember that. I don't even think that stat came out for another year. I think it was a Sun newspaper writer brought it up to me, and I never really thought much of it because '92 I got there to Ipswich in 1984, so I'd already been there for 8 years, and I didn't really feel like a foreigner. So I was like, oh yeah, I guess I am.
How's that mate of yours, Frankie Yallop? Is he still okay?
He's doing okay. Yeah, he was in California managing there in the league just under Major League Soccer. That's a league that's doing very well these days as well. And he was in Monterey, of all places. So beautiful area, not far from Pebble Beach, really. But he's no longer with the club right now, and he's looking to stay in the game. But he's doing really well. Yeah.
Well, nice Pebble Beach is a pretty. Me and Terry are available for Pebble Beach, Craig, as well.
Anytime.
You can pass that message on to Frankie.
And see what we can do.
Yeah, I don't have contacts there as I do like a Cabot, but we can always make a phone call.
And how is Big DeVos? Do you see a lot of him out there?
No, he was at Toronto FC. Well, he was with the Canadian program, the Canadian Soccer Association, and he ended up moving away from there and went back into MLS under John Herdman, who was our old national team coach, took up the Toronto FC job. John Herdman ended up resigning after a poor season last year, and then the new guy came in and basically made some changes. You know how it goes, and Jason, as an assistant, was let go. So he's in limbo at the moment, but I think he's looking to go back to school almost and educate himself.
Be nice to get him on, wouldn't it? Have a word with Craig for us, see if we can get him on one week.
Oh, he'd come on for sure. I don't think there'd be any hesitation.
Lovely.
Yeah. Good talker, isn't he? Good talker.
Yeah. Nice.
Right, we're nearly out of time. It's time for the Man v Fat results this week. Not a good week for the Man v Fat Labs this week. They made a hefty gain as a group, unfortunately.
Oh.
We still enjoyed a fun night of seven-a-side football with the scores to follow. But before that, can we please congratulate the 11-a-side team who travelled north of the border to beat the Man v Fat Norwich lads 4-0.
Oh, well done, boys.
4-0.
Excellent.
In their own backyard. Andy Farron was the Ipswich man of the match, so well done, beating Norwich in their own half.
Brilliant.
Fantastic. The weekly scores this week: Borussia Mönchengladbach 10, the Red Hot Chubby Fellas 7, Galatasaray 5, Wycombe Waddlers 5, Ivory Toast 6, the Red Cat Funts 5.
Oh, no.
Best
disaster.
wishes for Town tonight. Depending on when you're watching this, because it's going out live, so it might be tonight or it might be another night, and also against Nottingham Forest on Monday. Craig, it's been great to have you back on the show again. Thank you so much for your time tonight and your service to the club. And are you going to be back here anytime soon or not?
No plans at the moment, but if they get within a couple points of the of safety, maybe I'll make a trip over.
Yeah, maybe Russell and Terry ought to invite you over for a round of golf.
Yeah,
We'll see him at the golf course first.
yeah. Bring
Yes.
the clubs.
Yeah, bring your clubs. Everybody, Craig Forrest.
Thanks, Craig.
Brilliant. Thank you, Craigie. Great to see you again. That's it for this week. We'll be back next week, and our special guest on the show next week, getting ready for his March of the Day next week, will be Marcus Stewart. He's our special guest on the show next week, so make sure you tune in for that and tell your friends. Good luck to Town tonight against Manchester United, just about to kick off right now. Or maybe they've kicked off already, depending on when you're watching and listening. So thanks for your company. Thank you, boys. Thank you, Capacity Crowd. Nice to see you coming out, look. Thank you for making the effort. We'll be back again next week. Blue Army!
Blue Army!
Blue Army! Blue Army! Blue Army! Blue Army! Blue Army! Blue Army! Blue Army! Blue Army! Blue Army!
This has been a Life's a Pitch TV production. Main sponsor, DPS Tech. Also supported by Lakens, All About Hearing, Forward Floors, Ginger Pickle, Fred Olsen Logistics, The Dove, Seckford Golf Club, Ashford Wright, John Keeble Cars, Venue 16, The Hudson Group, Come Hither Design, Sound 4 Pro Audio, and Suffolk Sound. Our charities this year: Cancer Support Suffolk and the Ipswich Town Community Foundation.